Tonight was a wonderful celebration of Juneteenth. It was wonderful in the city of Austell, Georgia. The first in the history since 1884 when the city started to exist, incorporated. Mayor Clemens, it was a wonderful night. Councilwoman Anderson, it was a beautiful night. Chief Hamilton Scott, now you know I can find history. A lot of the different people were saying, where's our black history? I don't see much black history. That's because you got to turn it in. You got history if you turn it in. We've got many articles on the pages. I've got the Washington Street page, Cops page, and other pages that we are posting. We're pleading with you. Turn the black history in. One church, Bethesda. Thank you, Bishop Frank Johnson, for your poster. That's how we know. You know, I found an article on my grandmother, Azalee Felker Ward, from when Bishop George Browley officiated her funeral. I always wondered, how did we get over into the Church of God in Christ when I saw her obituary and that the highest power bishop in the state of Georgia officiated my grandmother, my great grandmother. No, my grandmother, Azalee Felker Ward, my grandmother. Oh my God. Yeah, I wasn't even born when he did it in 1952. What an honor. Well, to know me is to know when I'm in search of history, I'll find history. And history isn't about me or just you. History is about our descendants, those ancestors who laid the foundation. Jesus did it, but they helped. They followed the directions of Jesus. Was Chief Hamilton Scott, Sheriff Pounds, Sheriff Owens, y'all know I was going to find it, to the black community of Cobb County, Georgia. Now, number one, the Botteford Museum in Powder Springs. If you want to know history, go to it. You got to visit the places. But when I went into that museum, I started looking, hunting, looking, and I found two books. One of the books is a red book that has anthem on it. But that is those that were desegregated and segregated into the white schools of Cobb County from Washington Street Elementary. Thank you, Valerie Anderson. In all these years since 1884, every colored school in Cobb County pretty much was recognized, except for Green Grove in Mableton, Austell. It was Route 1 then, and Washington Street Elementary School. My sister, if you look at Kennesaw State University history, thank you, Deanne Bonner, the oral history of the NAACP, My oldest sister, Gwendolyn could not go to school in Cobb County. My sister Gwendolyn was 20 years older than me. She had to go to my grandfather's school in Atlanta, Georgia, Hollywood Road, Scotts Crossing, the colored school there. My sister Barbara couldn't go to school in Cobb County. But Linda Ward, Grady Ward, Virginia Ward, Suzanne Ward, everybody was asking for y'all tonight. Where's your sisters and brothers? Because they were some of the older ones that went to school with you all. Although Suzanne was 6 years under me. But it was so wonderful. But y'all, I found the book. Marjorie, Cynthia, the Watts, the Madisons. Everybody was sitting around me. The Woods, the Hills, the Anderson, the Watkins. Y'all, and Miss Coral Sims. My sister's grandmother. I told them, y'all should have saw him getting up and running out to find that book. I told him I found it. It's only 2 books. One is from 1968. The other one is from 1969. It's a little burgundy book, like the color of my car. It's on the shelf in that middle room under the high schools. One of the things that the people want is that move from segregation to desegregation. Those are the only 2 books that show it. It's in there. I took pictures of it and I posted them. I took your pictures when we were back 60 years ago. 60 years ago. Bernice, Suzanne, I took y'all pictures. It's in that book. I'm telling you, Richard, the Woods, Frankie, Pam, you got to go get that book. The pictures, they say, you're excited. I really was, y'all. And when I tell you this story, it will make you understand why I was so excited tonight when I found that book. The Black people, our parents, although they didn't have education, a lot of it, they didn't have, some of them may have had a first grade education, but they knew how to protect us. They knew how to protect us as their children. So when the schools desegregated, we were sent to Austell only for a little bit, only for a little while they paved the way. And I've come to the conclusion, and I believe I'm right. I've come to the conclusion in Mableton, Lindley Middle School, and Pebblebrook High School was where the trouble was going to be. I remember walking into that school our first day. They didn't let us go there once they desegregated the schools. Cobb County Board of Education sent us to Austell School. I know now, after meeting with Mr. Ed Fields from the Ku Klux Klan, yeah, I faced him head on. I had to meet with that man. I had to understand, why would y'all shoot into my house? of all the people's house, just because I moved on a white street. And the street ain't white. I ain't never seen a white street. Now, the streets are paved. But however, I met with Mr. Fields. In his book, that's an important piece of paper he wrote. In his book, he laid out the programs that we, the NAACP, put in place. The biracial council. Everything we did is in his book. Everything we did is in his book with Zion Baptist Church. A little bit, I can understand why they were mad. Okay, kind of sort of poor white people, when you're taking their jobs, we wasn't taking their jobs. It was just time for a change. But they were struggling like us. For instance, my mother worked at the cotton mill. Well, the Suttons worked at the cotton mill too. When the cotton mill shut down, it hurt the white people real bad. We didn't have nothing from the get-go, but they had a lot to lose. They had, and so it did look like we were kind of like taking that stuff. When we moved on Pisgah Road, and our house was firebombed. Now, that came from my work with the NAACP. That came from my work with the NAACP. It's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. I was working on fair share. Got a fair share. Got an award from the 75th Diamond Jubilee. I wrote right over there across the street at a Burger King, the fair share agreement that signed every human, every person up for financial freedom. That's what the financial fair share agreement was. Across the street from here was Melvin Jenkins' Church's Chicken. After my house was shot into, his store was demolished. Oh, yes. So I can understand a little bit where all that came from. The racial hate and all. Now, back to the desegregation. Why those two books probably need to be put up under lock and key. Those two books are the only source of the change of desegregation. From segregation from Washington Street Elementary to desegregation to the white schools and integrating the schools. I remember when we got to Lindley Middle School, back to the story of why they didn't let us go from Washington Street to Lindley Middle School. They didn't let us go because little did we know J.B. Stoner and others. Now, Governor Maddox was there. Governor Lester Maddox was there at that school. I remember the Cobb Police was there. The Sheriff Department was there. I remember the principals was there. They had at least 3 black teachers that would help us mentally to understand if you're called nigger, don't fight. You gotta take this. Miss Mims was my teacher. Miss Griffin was the other's teacher. They had a hard job. They had to teach our minds education, but also teach our minds to don't fight back. Don't fight. If you fight, everybody get put out of school. And that day when we walked into the school, I think the old people didn't get this. Because my dad is gone. My dad wasn't going to let them hurt us. Now he obeyed. And you need to read this story on Virginia Gail Ward, my sister. She's still living now. They tell me in the theses that Minnie wrote, in the history books, all you got to do is Google her name. Normally, when a group of students went or a sit-in took place, it was lots of black people. Virginia was the only, just one, black girl that marched down Mount Harmony Baptist Church in graduation to graduate in 1970. Virginia Gail Ward. She works right here in Austell. Virginia was the only one. So those books, that's why I had to hunt them down. I was looking. I said, show somebody have a history book with our pictures somewhere. Y'all, I found it. I found it. They sent us from Washington Street to Austell Elementary. Austell Middle School. I think it was middle school. They sent us there and groomed us, Coach Hare and all that group, the principals. They were grooming us for the day that they would walk us into Lindley Middle School. It was 4 of us that walked into Lindley Middle School. It was Virginia and some from over in St. John, but Virginia was the oldest of all of them to walk into Pebblebrook. Pebblebrook was over on Pebblebrook Circle. Lindley was on, get the name, Old Alabama. That's why it was such a battle that they had to be prepared to take us children into Lindley on Old Alabama Road. They wasn't playing. They wasn't playing when they bombed that church in Selma, Alabama, up in Alabama, and killed those little children. They groomed our minds for what we were to face and what we were to go through. The name calling, they groomed us for it. They groomed us for it. Yes. That's why the cuff between segregation and desegregation, those 2 books are very important. So when you visit the Austell Museum, go look at them books. That's where you're going to see our black faces at. In that book, I found mine. I got a beating. I put some makeup on that day I took that picture. And I had a short sleeve dress. My daddy whipped me. My daddy said, you better not ever leave this house. See, I didn't put the makeup on before I left the house. I put the makeup on after I got on the school bus. Okay, I snuck and put the makeup on, or sneaked and put the makeup on. But my daddy got me. Need I say, our daddies ran the house. Okay, no matter what education they had. The mothers had educations. But honey, when your daddy spoke, on top of that, getting a whipping, I had to walk across the railroad track, catch a Greyhound bus, and come to Mableton on that Greyhound bus. And then I got a whipping. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, those, they were good days, but you remembered them. I remember walking into that school and seeing that tall man, J.B. Stoner. I remember seeing Governor Lester Maddox. But none of it made sense to me until I read Dr. Ed Field's book on the KKK. I didn't even understand why they shot into my house or our house until I read. You got to get Dr. Ed. They need to put his book up there too. Until I read it to see all of what they were fighting us over. And the only thing he didn't put down was my name. But he got every bit of the history. So, as I end, it was a wonderful day. And y'all know I was excited because never in the history I have a little picture of me because, they gave us pictures. Okay, but never I didn't even know what a yearbook was. I didn't. And on the front of the book, it has Anthem on the front of the book. Now, South Cobb books had South Cobb on their books. I never knew what no anthem was. But when I opened the book, Marjorie, I saw you in so many committees. I mean, you were a working girl. Yeah, Marjorie Beavers Woods. I saw you in a lot of programs. Oh my God. So many of my friends that died. Joyce, different one. John Petty was burned up in a house right next to the school. Big Head was in the book. Y'all, now those are some books. And if you got your camera, you need to go and snapshot those pictures and show them to your grandchildren. Show them to your descendants. That was wonderful. As I end, I do say, when I worked on the Mabel House project and history, I worked with the Mableton Improvement Association. I've always worked on history, okay? I've always worked in community. And I can remember the history of us working on it, but there has never been a piece. Now, ACWORK, I think, has theirs in the Rose Hill School. Smyrna had his in Rose Garden Hill, but down here in the South, just from around the corner where I'm standing, is the slave house of Celia Mabel. Celia died with stomach cancer. Dr. Clark came from Austell and took care. She's the mother of the slaves from Cobb County, Georgia, especially in the South. The black people took on the name of the slave, the masters. Okay, don't be ashamed just because your descendants were slave masters. That was the sign of the times. But I have her death certificate. It was so wonderful to me because Valerie Anderson, Rhonda, the next in command from the sheriff of Cobb County, all that were related to the Watkins family. All that was related. They came to a little old pastor named Elder Raw Harden Sr. Well, I did. And they said, this is the black mother that we're looking for. Before we can build the amphitheater, and get that $11 million, we got to clear those 13 slave graves. You know me. Uh, Francis wrote an article in AJC on the black and white family reunion. If you Google my name, you can follow a lot of articles. So Francis was a reporter for AJC. He wrote that article on the black and white family reunion. When they told me that those slaves had no family, so they had the right to take the land, the goodness of the good white people, the Mabel family cemented. Y'all go up to the Mabel house and look at what I'm talking about. They cemented that concrete so that nobody could take that land. And the good black folks go right across the street from here, down at Big Bethel, is so many slave graves. Go around the corner right here at Green Grove. It was the colored school that my granddaddy, who was declared white on land, G.W. Felker, could not go to that school because of the color of his skin, because he was a white man on earth. But go to Cobb County and pull his last will and testament. He was a colored man that died with asphyxiation. That's what he was. He was a colored man. So on paper, he was black. That's the land we live on. In society, he was white. He married a white woman, Laura Shields. We have our own private cemetery right here on Ivy Road. We've been trying to get the county forever. It was created in 1880. We've been trying to get them to make it a historic site. Ain't nothing in Mableton historic sites for black folks. But good white peoples knew when it came down to moving us this way, it was going to be a fight. On old Alabama, the fight took place. They had to bring us to Lindley Middle School. When they brought us to Lindley Middle School, and who met us there? They wouldn't let him wear no comb on his head. He had to uncover his face. And he had on a suit, white shirt. I remember when I met with Dr. Fields, he had on a white shirt. He walked down Lemon Street thanks to Chief Bob Hightower. They knew I was going to meet with him. I had to find out why that man hated me and didn't know me. Hated me without a cause. Why would you shoot into my house? Why would you try to kill my baby? I was sitting on the bed right there. That was a clear shot. I was sitting right there on the bed talking to the NAAC president, Dover Farrer, because they were going to have a boycott in Marietta. But they knew I was the chairman of the Fair Share Committee. They had to come after the leader of the group. Little did I know that we was going to have a boycott. I didn't know we was having a boycott. That's why I don't like stupidity. I don't like for us to play in civil rights because it's a dangerous walk sometimes. Back then, it was a real dangerous walk. So I hope that you go and look at that book up in Austell. I was really excited. It makes, when you hear my story or other story, and you go and you see why they moved us, because we wonder. Everybody else, they sent them to Lemon Street, they sent them to South Cobb, They sent them different places. Only in Mableton. They would not send us directly into that school. They had to groom us to go in there. And our parents met us there to go in there with us because didn't nobody know what was going to happen that day. They were there to fight. Ain't no niggas coming on old Alabama Road. That's old Alabama. And it's got to stay old Alabama. But they had to bring us in because Cobb cooperated fully with